Thanksgiving was supposed to bring us together. But that night, surrounded by laughter and the smell of roasted turkey, I received a message that shattered everything I thought I knew about my family. My phone buzzed on the table. Single text, no name. Walk away immediately. Say nothing to anyone. Act normal. My heart skipped. I glanced around the table. Mom carving the turkey, Dad pouring wine, my brother Jack whispering to his wife. Everyone looked normal. Too normal. Then another text. Don't trust who's sitting across from you. I looked up. Across from me sat my father. He smiled, lifted his glass and said, "To family." And I realized in that moment, someone at that table wanted me gone. Froze. My phone was in my hand, but there was another identical one on the counter. Same model, same cracked corner, same case. Oh. Picked it up. The wallpaper. A photo of me and Mom from last Christmas. But when I opened the messages, my breath caught. It wasn't my phone. It was someone's copy of mine. There were texts I'd never seen before. Private ones. Conversations I didn't remember having. A message sent earlier that day read, "She's on her way. Make sure she sits near him." My stomach twisted. Her was me. Then the oven timer went off, jolting me back. I shoved both phones into my pocket and rejoined the table, trying to act normal. Mom smiled. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" "Yeah," I lied, forcing a grin. As I sat down, my father's phone buzzed. He glanced at it quickly, then locked the screen before I could see. "Who was that?" "Yes." He smiled. "Work. Always something urgent." But his voice cracked just enough for me to notice. Dinner went on like nothing was wrong. But under the surface I could feel it, tension. Fake laughter. Too many secrets hiding behind polite smiles. That night, when everyone had gone to bed, I compared the two phones again. The second one had a hidden folder labeled Violet/archive. Inside photos, screenshots, documents, and one audio file dated a week ago, titled Dinner Prep. Press play. Mom's voice. "She can't find out until it's done." "Dad, she won't. After tomorrow, it won't matter." My hand shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. I didn't sleep that night. By morning I looked like a ghost. My hands trembled as I opened my laptop and logged into my joint account, the one my parents helped me open when I was in college. The balance used to be $84,000. My savings from years of work. Now, $2,016. My stomach dropped. Dozens of transactions had been made overnight. Transfers to an unfamiliar company name. Caro Foundation, LLC. I Googled it. Nothing came up. My phone buzzed again. New message. "They used your name as guarantor. They're laundering through your account." I stared at the words until they blurred. Someone had turned me into a criminal, on paper. Then another text. "You have one ally. Don't contact them yet. They'll find you." I wanted to scream, but instead I did what the message said. I waited. At noon, someone knocked on my apartment door. A man in his early 30s, wearing a gray coat and holding a badge. "Violet Carson." "Yes. I'm Agent Cole, Financial Crimes Division. We need to talk about your parents." Froze. "What about them?" He sighed. "They're under federal investigation. We think they've been using your identity for at least a year." My world tilted. My parents." He nodded gravely. "You're not safe right now. Pack a bag." Froze mid-step. My pulse pounded in my ears. Agent Cole stood near my kitchen table, flipping through a folder. "What's wrong?" he asked. I hid my phone behind my back. "Nothing." The message glowed on the screen again. "He's not FBI. Look at the badge number." I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "Can I see your ID again?" He hesitated. "Standard protocol." "Yeah," I said softly. "Just nervous." He handed it to me. The badge read, FBI, 247A93. I typed the number quietly into Google. My blood ran cold. It belonged to a real agent, who had died 3 years ago. When I looked up, Agent Cole was already watching me. "You're pale," he said, stepping closer. "You okay?" Forced a laugh. "Yeah, just shocked." "Good," he said. "Then let's get you somewhere safe." I nodded slowly. "Sure. Just let me grab my purse." As soon as I stepped into my bedroom, I locked the door, yanked my phone out, and whispered into the mic. "Who are you?" The mystery texter replied instantly. "Neighbor across the hall. Been tracking them for months. Your parents aren't who you think. The man with you works for them. Don't leave with him. There's a camera in your living room vent. Pretend you're on the phone with a friend. Stall him." I swallowed my fear, dialed my best friend's number, and spoke loudly. "Oh hey, yeah, I'll meet you downstairs." 2 minutes. Agent Cole frowned. "You said you lived alone." "I lied," I said with a nervous smile. His eyes darkened. "Violet, don't make this difficult." I bolted for the window, climbed out onto the fire escape, and ran. "Mom," I whispered. She stepped out of the car slowly, her expression unreadable. "Violet, get in. We can explain." "Explain what?" I screamed. "Why the FBI, or whoever that man is, was in my home. Why you drained my account." "Lower your voice," she hissed. "It's not what you think." Behind her, Dad got out, looking exhausted. "Please, sweetheart, let's talk somewhere private." Every instinct told me to run. But curiosity, stupid, dangerous curiosity, made me freeze. 2 minutes, I said coldly. "Talk." Mom sighed, glancing around. "It started with your grandfather's company. He left behind debts, dirty ones. We covered them using your name. It was supposed to be temporary." My knees went weak. "You used me to launder money." Dad looked down. "It was the only way. You're the only one they wouldn't suspect." Tears burned my eyes. "You turned me into a criminal to save yourself?" Mom's tone cracked. "We did it to save the family. But now it's out of control." She grabbed my arm. "Please, Violet. Come with us. They're watching everything. We can still fix this." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. "Don't get in the car. Your father's not scared of losing you. He's scared of what you know." I stepped back slowly. "No. I'm done." Dad's expression hardened. "Then you're on your own." They drove off, tires screeching down the wet road. I collapsed onto the curb, sobbing. That night I checked my bank account again. The balance was negative. Overdrawn. They'd done it. Completely emptied me. And then one last text came through. "If you want the truth, go to the storage unit under your father's name. Unit 47. But go alone." Violet takes a flashlight, drives into the dark, and opens the storage unit, only to find hundreds of fake IDs, cash stacks, and her own passport with someone else's face. The air smelled like rust and gasoline when I pulled into the storage lot. Rows of corrugated doors stretched in both directions, each one numbered like a secret. Unit 47 was at the far end. I parked, killed the lights, and just sat there for a minute. My hands were shaking so badly I could hardly hold the flashlight. Every sound felt amplified. The hum of the streetlight, the metallic creak of wind-blown doors, my own pulse in my ears. I forced myself to move. The key my father used for business trips fit perfectly. When the lock clicked open, a wave of cold air hit me. Inside were boxes stacked to the ceiling, labeled with dates, initials, and codes I didn't understand. Pried one open. Tightly wrapped bundles of $100 bills. The next box, passports. Dozens of them. Men, women, children, different names, different faces. And then, in the third box, I froze. My own passport. But the photo wasn't me. The woman looked similar. Same hair color, same mole near the chin. But her eyes were wrong. Hard. Calculating. Chill ran through me. At the bottom of the box was a file folder labeled V Project. Inside were forged bank documents. All in my name. Mortgage papers. Loan applications. Offshore transfers. It looked like an entirely different life built around me. One I never lived. A car engine roared outside, headlights sweeping through the gaps of the door. I turned off my flashlight and crouched behind a crate, barely breathing. "To step. To set." A man's voice. "Boss said clear it all." "She knows." Another voice. "What about the girl?" "She's not a problem." "Not anymore." My heart slammed against my ribs. They started unlocking nearby units. I backed toward the rear exit, using my phone's dim glow to find the handle. When I slipped outside, the cold air burned my lungs. I ran until my legs gave out, collapsing behind a dumpster behind a closed diner. Then my phone buzzed again. "You found it, didn't you? Don't call the police yet. They're compromised. Meet me at 10 a.m. tomorrow, Pier 19. Come alone." I stared at the screen, trembling. "Who are you?" I whispered. No reply. Pier 19 looked abandoned. Seagulls circled above the gray water. Fog clung to the dock like a curtain. At exactly 10 a.m., a figure stepped from the shadows. A woman, mid-40s, black trench coat, calm but wary. "You're Violet," she said. "Who are you?" "Detective Mara Lane. Financial Crimes Unit. Off record." She flashed a badge. Real this time, edges worn from use. "I've been following your parents for 3 years," she said. "They built a network using false charities and shell companies. The V Project was their escape plan." I swallowed. "Why use me? You were the clean one. No debts, no record. You made the perfect cover." Felt sick. "They're my family." Her gaze softened. "They stopped being that when they sold your name." I handed her the drive I'd copied from the storage unit. She scanned through it quickly, eyes widening. "This is enough to bring the whole thing down." Relief and fear tangled inside me. "Then arrest them." She shook her head. "Not yet. We need evidence of the active transfers. The next one happens tonight at 8 p.m. I need you to be there." "What?" "They trust you," Mara said. "You'll be the bait." I wanted to refuse to run, but something inside me, the part that still heard Grandma's voice telling me to fight for what's right, said yes. That night, Mara wired me with a hidden mic. "If things go wrong," she said, "say the word harvest. We'll move in." At 7:58, I walked into the downtown bank. Mom and Dad were already there, pretending to sign charity papers. Mom smiled when she saw me. "Violet, honey. I knew you'd come." Dad gestured to the teller. "Just sign here to finalize the transfer." My hand hovered over the pen. The teller looked nervous. Sweat on his forehead. He wasn't a teller. He was one of their people. My phone buzzed in my purse. A message from Mara. "They know." "Stall." I forced a shaky laugh. "Wait, this line. Offshore donation." "What is this?" Dad's eyes darkened. "Just sign, Violet." I set the pen down. "No." His jaw clenched. "You don't understand." "I understand enough," I said. "You used me once. Never again." Mom's expression turned icy. "You're making a mistake," I whispered. "So did you." Then I said the words softly into my collar. "Harvest." Seconds later, sirens wailed outside. Chaos erupted. Officers shouted, glass shattered, people screamed. Dad's arm locked around my shoulders, a gun pressed beneath my ribs. "Stay back," he roared. "She's my daughter." Detective Mara aimed her weapon steadily. "Then don't make her your victim." Mom sobbed behind the counter. "Please, David, put it down." "Quiet," he barked. "You think I'll spend my life in prison after everything I built?" I could feel his hand trembling. "Dad," I whispered. "Please. This isn't you." He laughed bitterly. "You don't even know who I am." That hurt more than the gun itself. Mara's voice cut through the noise. "We have your accounts frozen, David. There's nowhere to run." He yanked me toward the door. "Then we'll make our own exit." Rain poured outside. Red and blue lights painted everything surreal. I tried to steady my voice. "If you ever loved me, let me go." His grip tightened. Love's what ruined this family. I met Mara's eyes over his shoulder and mouthed, "Trust me." Then I did something reckless. I twisted free, elbowed his arm and dropped to the floor. A gunshot rang out. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then I realized I wasn't hit. Dad was. He fell to his knees, blood blooming across his shoulder. Mara's team rushed forward, securing the weapon. Mom screamed his name as officers pulled her away. I sat on the cold floor, trembling, staring at the man who'd once taught me to ride a bike, now in handcuffs. As they led him past me, he whispered, "I was trying to save us." I said nothing. There was nothing left to save. Outside, the storm broke, the rain washing away the smoke and blood. Mara put a hand on my shoulder. "You did good, Violet." But I didn't feel good. I felt empty. 3 weeks passed. Mom was in federal custody. Dad was recovering in a secure hospital wing. The house was quiet again, too quiet. Then the envelope arrived. No return address, just my name in his handwriting. Inside, a small brass key and a note. Not everything was a lie. Storage 12 West Ridge. For when you're ready. I almost threw it away. But curiosity, the same curse that started all of this, pulled me back in. The next evening I drove to West Ridge. The air smelled of oil and rain. Unit 12 opened easily. Inside wasn't money or documents. It was photos. Hundreds of them. Me at 5, at 10 graduating high school. Every birthday, every milestone. He'd kept them all. At the back of the unit stood a dusty safe. The key fit. Inside, a single flash drive labeled "For Violet." I plugged it into my laptop right there on the concrete floor. A video started. Dad, pale and weak, sitting in a dim room. If you're watching this, I guess it's over. The truth is, I didn't start this. Your grandfather did. The debts, the shell companies. Mom and I inherited the mess. I tried to protect you the only way I knew how. By making you untouchable. I failed. He looked down, then back at the camera. But you were right to stop me. You became the one thing I couldn't be, brave. Don't let this name define you. Make something honest out of it. I didn't realize I was crying until I saw the tears hit the keyboard. Outside, the rain had stopped. For the first time in months, I felt light again. I drove home, opened my laptop, and drafted a new document. The Carson Foundation. Purpose: to help victims of identity fraud rebuild their lives. That night I whispered to the empty room. You were right, Dad. Not everything was a lie. On opening day of the foundation, Violet receives one final message from an unknown number. You exposed them, but you didn't finish it. The message came the night before the foundation's launch. You exposed them, but you didn't finish it. I stared at the text, heart pounding. For months I tried to move on. Therapy, court hearings, rebuilding my name. I thought it was over. But the number wasn't random. It was the same one that had warned me during Thanksgiving. Who are you? Type. The one who made sure you lived long enough to find out the truth. Then another message. They weren't working alone. Your father's files weren't the top. Check folder. V Project Alpha. Look for the initials Dr. I opened my laptop, scrolling through old drive backups from the storage unit. Most folders were locked, but one, labeled V-Alpha, was unencrypted. Inside were records of massive international wire transfers. Each was tagged with initials. Dr. Froze. I'd seen those initials before. On bank letters my dad used to bring home. Derek Rains. My godfather. My dad's best friend. He'd been at Thanksgiving. He'd toasted next to me. And now, his name was at the center of everything. My stomach churned. I needed confirmation. So I called Detective Mara. She answered on the second ring. Violet. I think I know who was behind my parents. I emailed her the files. 5 minutes later she called back, her voice tight. Violet, you need to get out of your house. Right now. What? Why? Those files. Rains isn't just your godfather. He's the federal liaison who was supposed to oversee your parents' case. If he realizes you found this. The line cut out. My lights flickered. Then, outside my window, headlights glared through the curtains. I grabbed my bag, stuffed the flash drive and a few papers inside, and slipped out the back door. Rain poured as I ran down the alley, heart hammering. Behind me, I heard a car door slam. A man's voice shouted, "Violet!" I ducked into a side street and pulled out my phone. Another text flashed across the screen. "Go to the Fairhaven building. It's safe." The foundation's office was downtown, the one place still under renovation with cameras and alarms. I sprinted through the rain until I reached it. Inside, the empty lobby echoed my footsteps. Then a shadow moved near the elevator. "Detective Mara," called softly. But when the figure turned, it wasn't her. It was Derek Rains. He smiled. "I was wondering when you'd finally see the bigger picture." My pulse spiked. "You framed my parents." He shrugged. "They were sloppy. I cleaned up their mess and made a fortune doing it. Using me. Not just you. You were leverage. The innocent face that made everything legal." He stepped closer, voice smooth. "You could still join me, Violet. You're good at this. Better than they ever were." My hand inched toward my phone. "You're insane." "No," he said calmly. "I'm untouchable." He turned toward the elevator and froze as red laser dots danced across his chest. "Federal agents," a voice shouted. Mara emerged from the stairwell, gun raised. "Step away, Rains." He smirked. "You have no proof." "Oh, I do," she said. "Courtesy of the girl you underestimated." He turned to me, eyes cold. "You should have stayed silent." "Guess that's not a family trait," I said. He lunged, and Mara tackled him to the ground. Mara's words echoed in my head. "Someone close to you." I stared at her across the interrogation table. "What do you mean?" She slid a folder toward me. Inside were bank records, fresh ones. Transfers from my foundation's account to an offshore shell company. By A.V. Carson, my cousin. The one person who'd stood by me through everything. Mara's tone was gentle. "We think Rains wasn't working solo. Ivy had access to your nonprofit's funds. She made withdrawals under emergency aid codes." I couldn't speak. "That's impossible. She helped me build the foundation." Mara sighed. "People don't change overnight. Maybe she wanted her share of your family's fortune." The next morning I went to the office early. Ivy was already there, sitting at her desk sipping coffee. She looked up. "You're early. Everything okay?" "I could ask you the same." Her smile faltered. "What's that supposed to mean?" I tossed the folder on her desk. "You tell me." She froze. "Where did you get this?" "The FBI," I said coldly. "Turns out, you've been funding your own little side project." Her face crumpled. "Violet, please, I didn't mean." "You didn't mean to steal from the foundation. From victims." Tears welled in her eyes. "It was supposed to be temporary. Rains promised he'd double it. I just wanted to fix things after what your parents did." My stomach twisted. "You worked with him." "I didn't know who he really was until it was too late," she cried. "He said if I didn't help, he'd ruin you. I thought I was protecting you." I took a step back, disbelief turning into anger. "You lied. Just like them." She stood reaching for me. "Violet, please." I grabbed her wrist, forcing her to look me in the eye. "You can't protect someone by becoming the thing that hurt them." For a moment, silence hung heavy between us. Then her phone buzzed. A single message flashed on her screen. "She knows. Get out." She gasped, staring at it. "They're watching me, Violet." The elevator dinged. Two men in suits stepped out, pretending to be maintenance workers. Mara's voice rang in my earpiece. She'd insisted I wear a wire that day. "Violet, they're here for her. Stay calm." I whispered. "Ivy, don't move." She turned terrified. "They'll kill me." The men advanced, but before they could act, agents burst in from the back exit. Screams, chaos, the crack of cuffs locking. Mara grabbed my arm. She's safe now. It's over. I looked at Ivy, crying as agents led her away. No, I said softly. It's not over. It never really ends, does it? For the first time in years, I woke up to silence that didn't feel dangerous. Rains was facing 40 years. My parents had pled guilty. Ivy was cooperating in exchange for testimony. But none of it felt like closure. Justice doesn't feel clean when it's written in betrayal. The news called me the Thanksgiving whistleblower. Hated it. It made me sound like a headline, not a person. I spent the next month rebuilding Fair Haven, not as a foundation but as a community. We launched financial literacy classes for women and students. We turned trauma into training. One evening I stood by the window, watching the sunset bleed across the skyline. Mara joined me, 2 mugs of coffee in hand. You did it, she said. No, I said softly. We did. She smiled. You ever think about what's next? I looked at the city lights flickering on one by one. Yeah, maybe peace. But peace doesn't come easy. That night I received one last email. No sender, no subject. Attached was a single photo. Me standing by that very window. Taken from across the street. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Below the photo, one line of text. Justice is never the end. It's the beginning. It's strange, the way life rebuilds itself from ruins. 1 year after that Thanksgiving, I sat in a federal briefing room, a badge clipped to my jacket. Violet Carson. Investigative consultant. I never planned to work with the same agency that once interrogated me. But Mara said it best. You understand what corruption looks like from the inside. That makes you dangerous in the right way. Now, I train agents to recognize financial grooming patterns, fake charities, laundering tactics, the same traps my family used. I turn my trauma into a blueprint for prevention. But every time I stand in front of a group and tell my story, I still hear the echo of that first text. Walk away immediately. Say nothing to anyone. And I think, what if I had? What if I'd ignored it? I wouldn't be here. I'd still be sitting at that table, laughing with people who were planning to destroy me. Sometimes survivors don't look like heroes. Sometimes they're just the people who refuse to sit quietly. The Fair Haven network has now expanded to 6 cities. Ivy sends letters from prison, ones that actually sound like her again. Mom writes too, asking for forgiveness. I haven't answered yet. Maybe someday. Dad passed away during sentencing. His final letter came weeks later. You saved the family name, even if you had to bury us to do it. Keep it locked away. Not out of bitterness, but as a reminder. Even broken legacies can birth better ones. Last night as I left the office, I looked up at the city skyline. Glowing, restless, alive. And I finally whispered to myself, "You're safe now." Then, from somewhere deep inside, I heard Grandma's voice again. Fairness isn't given, Violet. It's built. Smiled. 'Cause she was right. And as I walked away into the night, I realized. That first text wasn't a warning. It was a beginning. This is Violet, I whispered to the camera. And this was my story. Not about survival, but about becoming unstoppable. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect you, remember, truth doesn't destroy you, it rebuilds you. Speech balloon comment if you've ever turned pain into power. Thumbs up like if you believe justice begins where silence ends. Bell subscribe for more cinematic confessions that prove. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is tell the truth.